One of the darndest thing I've ever seen so far is this critical race
Oh
teaching.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, so-called critical race theory,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
Where they are literally teaching children that white people are evil simply because they're white. White
Mhm.
people are bad, especially white Christian men. They're literally teaching that to the children. And even when the parents fight back to say, no, I don't want that taught to my
Mhm.
child or
Yeah.
children, they try to force it on them anyway.
Mhm.
But what's interesting to me about it is that white Americans won't fight against it really. They will still send their children to not all of them, of course, but they will still send their children to public schools, knowing that they can't trust that the teachers are not going to impose this on their children. And while, again, I grew up in Alabama on a plantation under the so-called Jim Crow laws, all this mess wasn't going on even then, right? Because
Mhm.
parents were responsible for the children, and we
Mhm.
didn't blame they were not blaming white people or anyone about the issues of life. They knew it was spiritual and
Right.
not had nothing to do with color. But it's the darndest thing I ever seen that white people won't fight against it. They know that these people are lying about it, about what white people are doing, but they won't fight against it.
Yeah, they're it's ironically they're assuming superiority, right? They're like, I'm superior, you're the victim, and I'm the oppressor, which is funny because you're coding people to believe that there is that dynamic, right? And
Right.
so the white liberal most of the time, ironically, takes on the position of white power, which is funny. They're and if you say you don't have power, they'll be like, yes, I do, right? And it becomes this funny back and forth, but yeah, that critical race stuff is fascinating because it basically trains also black people or minorities, or now it's in
Yeah,
anybody's in
they've
this victim
included
class.
all the people of color with the blacks
Yeah,
now.
yeah, exactly.
Black and
Just
brown. Black and brown.
any little like should I just paint a little bit on my hand, like just to get maybe something free or in the mail or something. Yeah, they're training them. I had a meme once where it was a black mother raising her baby up, kind of like we do, and we're like, oh, you think they're saying something like, ooh, like trying to make baby sounds, but the comic, the dialogue was, can you say marginalized? And it showed that the mothers are teaching their children that they're marginalized,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I knew this couple, this white couple, that adopted a baby, right? And this is where I really departed from, because this was still in Los Angeles, and they had their baby. They adopted a black baby, and they had them in sort of this training program. We're teaching the black baby that he was oppressed, he was a minority, and that now he's in a white family, he's a privileged class, and now he has to understand how to navigate the world. This is also completely crazy and demonic because the child actually doesn't discern yet between anything.
That's right.
The best my daughter does is, that guy has brown skin. And I'm like, yeah, he has brown skin. And then that's it, right? There's no there's nothing else, right? I just, if they go further, yes, also made in God's image, And so these other people are trying to reduce human beings to categories, to particulars, to why not, people with a certain shape ear be its own category now? Like, why do we stop with skin, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the logical follow. Now, what this does, obviously, they sell it through this virtue, but it's not. It's false virtue. What they do is they need to divide so that there is an oppressor and a victim, such that then you could write policy for this sort of paradigm. And I don't think it has a lot of legs, honestly. I think even the people who would initially, a basic liberal who would initially kind of be on board with this critical race theory, they're starting to see how absurd it is, because they need to draw a line at some point. And that's the good news, is that people actually do draw lines. The bad news is the threshold varies, it deeply varies.
One other thing I want to say about that is new to me is I hear a lot of black parents saying now, and I see it in commercials and things like that, they tell their little children, black children, that it's hard on the blacks in America, and when you go out into the world, you got to work harder than the white man in order to make it in America. You got to work harder. Isn't that like a brainwashing setup? And it's ridiculous. I was never told that growing up.
I would never say that ever to a child,
Right.
regardless of, no matter what. Maybe I would say, I don't even know what condition I would say that. Maybe if someone was actually like, didn't have a leg or something, I'd be like, okay, if you want to play hockey, you're going to have to work harder.
Right.
Then it would make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, telling someone that, which is funny because it's contrary to the world they live in. So if you tell a black girl it's going to be harder to get into college, and then they get a free ride in college because they're black, that's a contradiction. So it's actually the opposite.
Yes.
You should be telling, well, the world is kind of organized to compensate for your obvious weakness for being black. And so the good news is that you get free rides, you get to skip the lines at SeaWorld and whatnot. And this is condescending. And human beings, regardless of color, actually don't desire this. They actually desire the challenge, the long suffering, the sacrifice. Sacrifice is a Christian virtue. Like,
yes.
if you remove someone's ability to experience sacrifice and long suffering and overcoming, you're basically reducing them to like a plant, like just feeding the plant,
Yeah.
and it doesn't get to challenge itself. It doesn't get to have any sort of trials. I mean, think about how much we need trials in our life, right?
Yes.
You remove the trial, you remove the spirit, right? And so, not that you can actually remove the spirit. I'm saying, like, colloquially, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you remove that connection with God. I believe that you try to, and that's, I think that's the ultimacy of the demonic game, is to separate you from God and connect you with what? The world, right? The difference between spirituality or Christianity and worldliness, right? These people want human beings grounded in just physicality, in the world, in their appetites, in their trends, in their food, in their Instagram. And, they really do appeal to the fallen nature of humans, in our vulnerability to our appetites. So